there's so many angles and venues to be able to go into the healing part. And the healing part usually is as a human being, as a baby, we come to this world taking things and finding our own identity and creating our own identity based on, not only our genetics, but also our environment, which is our parents and how they were with us, our siblings, our neighborhood, our community, the culture we were raised in. So, the bad news and the good news is you can't run away from that part.
No, you're running and running and running in a circle.
Yeah, so the bad news is you can't get away. The good news is you can't get away, and it does allow you to go back and bring them in. Bring them in from a whole different place. Because in that place, as I said, we were left with powerlessness. And it's true. Like, how much power does a 2-year-old or a 3-year-old or a 5-year-old have? I mean, we have power as much as our age and circumstances. It's the skills. And if we weren't taught those skills as part of how we were growing up, we wouldn't have it. If parents really learned the skills of really becoming aware of themselves, clean up what happened to them as they grow up while they're going, they're working with the next generation, a lot of the, multi-generational traumas would stop.
What if you could rewire your mind and improve your mental well-being by 70%? In this episode of the ThriveWell Journey, I sit down with Dr. Foojan Zeine, psychotherapist, international speaker, and creator of awareness integration theory. For over 30 years, she's been helping people break free from anxiety, build confidence, and step into their true purpose. We talk about awareness, emotional intelligence, and how her groundbreaking Foojan App is reshaping the future of mental health. If you're ready for more clarity, purpose, and a fresh way to thrive, this is a conversation you don't want to miss. Hey there. Look, my hope is that the ThriveWell Journey meets you exactly where you are and helps you rise into who you're here to be. It's 2025, and this is your year to thrive despite what the world is throwing at us. And our desire is that our conversations inspire you, bring clarity, and give you a reason to breathe deeper. So our ask is that you take a moment to subscribe, download the episode, and follow us on your favorite RSS platform. Your support doesn't just help the show grow, it helps build a space that's rooted in your evolution. And that means everything to me and the TTJ team. Now, if you're ready to go beyond the episodes, come join our private ThriveWell Journey discussion group on Facebook. We're walking through a 22-week series built to anchor each week in intention, purpose, and meaningful connection. I do so look forward to hearing your voice and can't wait to see you in the group. But for right now, let's get into it. I want to say welcome to the ThriveWell Journey. How are you doing, Dr. Foojan?
Fantastic. Thank you for the invite. It's a joy to be with you and everyone who's listening or watching us.
Yes, it is a joy. And when Yvonne and I, got your information and was looking you up, I was so excited to talk to you. And I started to go and meet Mira, but we'll talk. Is it Myra or Mira? Mira. We'll talk about her later, but so that we can kind of get the world of who you are. And before we dive into the method and everything, I'd love to ask you, like, when was the last time you felt completely aligned with your purpose, and what did that moment teach you about yourself?
I can say that the minute that I decided to become a psychotherapist, it was more like I went to school, I did everything. I said, when I was about 16, I said, I'm going to be, by the age of 30, I'm going to have my own business. I'm going to own my home. I'm going to be married, and I'm going to be happy. So by age 28, I got my home. I was married. I bought my home, and I had my first business. I was unhappy. So if that took me to a lot of the self-growth seminars, right? Like Tony Robbins, Landmark, a lot of these amazing courses. And I started really working on myself. And I started looking at the deep, deep concepts that there was so much there of the childhood era, things that were very much unfinished that they were kept coming. And just, I've learned how to survive. I just never learned how to live and thrive, and then just live and enjoy and hold in gratitude. So no matter what I did, the anxiety would be there. It would follow me, and didn't matter how much I, achieved exactly what I said I going to. So supposedly now I should feel satisfied. It just wasn't. It was like, what's next? What's next? What if this is not it? What if this is taken away from me? What if I need more? And it was this concept that took me into the seminars, and then from there, because I wanted to work deeper for myself, I went and started going to psychotherapy, and then I fell in love with this concept of learning about ourselves, because our mind are just fascinating. So starting to learn about that, and then heal myself, and as people were coming to me to see this beauty of healing happening, this was like, this is it. This is my mission. My mission is to make a difference in people's lives in a way that is beneficial for them, and to create a space for them, so that they can learn how much they're responsible for their happiness, and they deserve to be joyous and happy. And there is a way to do that. Like, no matter how the outside circumstances are, there is a way that we could create joy and happiness and gratitude for ourselves as we move forward, and create the success tangibly. But more than anything, Michael, feel the success, because so many people tangibly create the success, but they don't experience it.
There is a difference. When you made that shift for yourself, what was it? Was it like just a moment? Was it a situation that happened where you're like, okay, I have all this that I said I'm going to have by this date or this time, but I'm not happy? Was there a moment that said, okay, I need to go find myself somewhere in something else so that I can be happy?
Yeah, it was the moment of achieving it, because you're always thinking, okay, I'm not happy until I achieve this. I'm not happy until I make this much money. I'm not happy until I'm married to the person who I said I want to. I'm not happy until I have my first business or have my home. So when you start gaining those, and then you're like, well, I'm still not happy. So what's going to make me happy? And it's like, at one point, it's pointless. Okay, how many other goals can I put in front of me and do everything so that I can achieve it, and then get to the same place that I am here now? So the moment that I saw that I'm not, I gained everything I said I will. I used to write down, like, by this time, I'm going to gain this, right? Like, you create a SMART goal, right? We all learn how to envision the goal, write it down, put it down, create the ways to get there. And then you want to get there, and then you get there. And every angle of that goal is done except the fulfillment that you feel about life. And then that moment was like, okay, this path isn't working. And the path that other people told me, only if you did your education, only if you did these things, you will be happy. Well, that didn't work out. So although I wanted to take role modeling from other people, but I also had to find what makes me happy. And part of what I needed to do was to change my frame of mind about what life looked like, what struggles look like, what feelings were, what thoughts were, what belief systems were holding me back, regardless. What things from the past I was holding back and not knowing how to let them go. Which, even though I was trying to get ahead, but it kept coming and sabotaging me. It kept coming and shifting my mood and holding me down. What patterns from outside, subconscious patterns I was holding, that although I was married, but something would come in and sabotage that
Yeah.
marriage or my
Yeah.
behaviors. And, I wouldn't see that I had a cause at this, and that I could change this. Sometimes you're like, okay, life is given to me and I'm a victim of it. Or life is life. It happens. And I
Yeah.
can figure out how to co-create mine within it. So I think if you say, was there a moment? It's like, yeah, was the moment was I achieved everything I said, and then I'm like, okay, I'm not happy. And then
This
the
ain't it.
yeah, and then the happiness showed up, in the connection of me to me and the connection of me to human beings, other people who we sat together, and I saw them connecting with the best side of themselves. And then it
Mm.
was like, this is it. Like this is the most amazing place to be, where you get to connect with yourself and you get to be with other people who are also connecting with the best of them.
Yes, and you're talking about community.
Yes,
Yeah,
community.
yeah.
Yes.
When so you were you went to Landmark and you went to and Tony Robbins. So first of all, just full disclosure, I did Landmark, or do still do Landmark, and I think it's a very powerful self-awareness kind of thing. You did these wonderful things. Where did that help you in your awareness of what you needed next?
I think Landmark really opened my eyes to different paradigms and really a sense of responsibility. Where before, this concept of, I'm doomed and, I'm always having a reaction to the outside world, and somehow, it's the outside world that is doing it. I think the frame that Landmark brings in, how your vision, your perception, and how you change that with there's an event and then those perceptions that you have. And I think as I went along, not only like forum and advanced, but I went into the higher levels of, the wisdom courses and many of those courses. It's truly a shift of paradigm,
Hmm.
completely a shift of paradigm on how we look at matters and things that are happening. And I think each course just brought such an openness for me and an acceptance for me, that I'm very indebted, and I think I recommend for anybody to go and really experience that. So
Yeah.
it does have its opening, but it's a group work, and a lot of times the level of a community that you create. Some of my best friends still come. We went through these journeys together, so some of my best friend came from these kind of community, and we create the same kind of language and understand and move forward. um, I needed something deeper than that. So obviously I went to psychotherapy and I looked at, deeper work and a little bit more individualized work. But I think that, any of the self progress courses that we go, it gives us another level of opening. And I think group work gives us another level of opening, because it isn't just what you bring, but you really share the concept of humanity, and you accept yourself because you watch other people share angles of their life where they shared with you and you feel the same way, or some of the angles where you weren't looking, it was like a blind spot for you. And in the groups, when people are sharing about their concepts, it also sheds a light from a part of you that it was a blind spot and you didn't even see it. So I
Yeah.
think there's such a value in this type of work which we do as a community together.
Yeah. So you made that shift. So when did you start with psychotherapy?
I started side by side, like, the first year that I went into all of these courses, then I started going to psychotherapy. And then immediately, like within 6 months of psychotherapy, I went back to graduate school to become a psychotherapist. So then the journey continues. Yeah, I don't think that I've been a psychotherapist for 32 years. I can tell you the journey of self recovery and self, actualization is a day by day concept. I don't think there's any day that I stop looking at what's going on with me. It's fascinating in there. Let me tell
Right. What is psychotherapy? So for people that don't know, that really don't understand what it is, what is it?
you. Sure. Psychotherapy is, obviously different theories, look at different angles of things. And the concept of it itself is that when you are sitting with someone who is with you with the utter level of love and acceptance and really allows you to see yourself within those lights. And so the context of psychotherapy is love and acceptance of someone
Mhm.
who is not part of your family, but there's nothing personal there, but they're watching you and holding you and in this space of healing. And then depending on what theory the people are using, some theories say that, you change your thought processes and your emotions will change and behavior emotional theories say you focus on your emotions, name them, release them, and then you look at the thought and the behaviors that change. Some behavior therapy says you change your behaviors, and with that, thought and emotions change. Mind body changes your body structure, and all of that changes. Trauma work, does that. So there's so many angles and venues to be able to go into the healing part, and the
Mm-hmm.
healing part usually is as a human being, as a baby, we come to this world taking things and finding our own identity and creating our own identity based on not only our genetics, but also our environment, which is our parents and how they were with us, our siblings, our neighborhood, our community, the culture we were raised in. So we form our identity from there. And some of this, and as we move along, we have perceptions about things, and we build this kind of a storyline, which is very personal storyline based on what we receive. So even in twin studies, if they were exactly from the same parents, same genes, being in the same environment, same culture, you could see that still the narrative and the story that someone creates for themselves is different from the other. So each person has a beautiful narrative of the story of who they are and who the world and how the world is for them, that they operate by.
Mm-hmm.
And if it works for them, awesome. But there's a lot of these belief systems that get created and we're perceived based on assumptions that we have that are not workable, but we're kind of like hold on to them.
Yeah.
And maybe it was working for a 2-year-old or a 5-year-old. It just doesn't work anymore for a 40 or a 50-year-old, and it has to be upgraded. But there's so much in the subconscious that we just act out without necessarily knowing where these belief systems are coming. So part of psychotherapy and some forms of psychotherapy is to actually go and bring up some of these belief systems. Where does it come from? How did you gain them? If there were traumas, to let them go and kind of like assess whether those beliefs are still working for you or not, and then build skills. So areas that you don't have skills of how to be with yourself or how to communicate, how to negotiate, and do that. And then those also gets given to you, or at least led you to where is it that you need to get because you don't know how. So as I went through learning different theories all these years and practicing them with my clients, I looked at what each one of these theories had, which was the best, like the golden nugget of each. And somewhere where one had a limitation, the other one came in and kind of fulfilled it. So
Mm-hmm.
based on that, anything that I had ever learned from, Tony and Landmark and every single theory, cognitive theory, emotional theories, behavioral theories, trauma-informed theories, hypnosis, all of those, as I brought them into the sessions, then it was like, oh, I created like a structure that was just doing things more faster and more efficient. Because I was taking the best of what the theories were out there and kind of, connecting them together where I saw it fit. And it just
Mm-hmm.
kind of like, it elevated
Yeah.
that theory to the next level. And that's how the birth of awareness integration theory showed up, from practicing a lot of these years with everything that I had learned. And then I taught them to my other therapists who were working with me. I had an agency where I used to train therapists, and I train therapists for their, like the residency, like
Yeah.
for them to get their hours for their board exams. And then I taught them, and they started working with their clients. And that's how, then we started doing research and seeing, what the numbers were. And that's how, the AIT got formed. It was born and kind of started working. And then we did this on a self-help, because I wrote a self-help book, Life
Mm-hmm.
Reset. And then two of my colleagues in California State University, Long Beach, they decided, oh, this is self-help, so let's create a program. We created a program for 4 of their courses where they could just offer it to their students by guided journaling, like no therapy, no coach, just kind of like, putting in a format of guided journaling. So they, we would give each week, we would give them one module, like one area of life, how you are with your business, how you are with your career, how you are with your intimate relationship, how you are with your body, right? So each week, we'll give them one module and let them go through all of these phases. And we still got like, 71% or 60%, right? I don't have all the numbers. We've done so much research of elevating and taking away depression, minimizing depression and anxiety, and then raising their self-esteem. And it's like, wow, it actually also works on a self-help level. And that's where it led itself to the app, because we figured, okay, if this can work on a self-help level, let's put it in an app so everybody has access to it. So Foojan App got created.
Foojan App was created.
Yeah.
So you worked across. So you work with, and you worked with across, many dimensions of human behavior. You had mentioned some of them. Like, what's the thread that connects them all? Here on the ThriveWell Journey, we talk a lot about not just surviving, but thriving. And a big part of that for me has been understanding my health on a deeper level. That's why I partnered with Live Good and brought it under my company, Orion's Health. Not just because I believe in the products, but because I've seen what they can do firsthand. I've walked through some hard health chapters in my life, including cancer and a kidney transplant. And I know what it feels like when your body's working against you. That's why we're offering 2 free tools that help me and can help you too. First, go to myfreehealthreport.com/Orion's Health. Take our quick health questionnaire and get a personalized report created by Dr. Ryan Goodkin, Live Good's Director of Product Development. It's clear, actionable, and totally free. Second, visit myfreedetox.com and get a free chlorophyll and zeolite detox bottle with your first product order. It's a gentle, natural way to clear out toxins and start fresh, something I personally use and stand behind. This isn't just a sponsorship, it's part of my mission through Orion's Health to help people thrive in body, mind, and spirit. Of course, always, always, always consult your physician before starting any new supplement or health regimen. Your body is unique, and your healthcare provider should always be part of the conversation. The links are in the show notes. Now tap in and take your next step toward thriving.
The thread that connects them all is that where I also brought them into the AIT is like there's this, first of all, we all live in relationships. So definitely we find our identity in relatedness. So it's important what type of relationship we create, whether with ourselves or other people. So we want to open up these concepts of how do I relate, from what angle I relate with the world, right? Like how do I see Michael? How would I, like when I first see Michael, what is it that I see that I like? What is it that I might say I have an opinion and I don't like? And that's even before knowing you, right? That's just like visual, right? Or like your voice. Is your voice, soothing for me, or does it create something for me? And then the concept is we all live in our assumption, right? So the same thing that I will form opinions about you, then I wonder what would Michael think of me and feel about me, right? In his own world, right?
Yeah.
So then I live in all the assumptions. So if I think Michael won't like me, or is like irritated with me, then I will react in a particular way versus saying, oh, Michael likes me. Right? And he's okay with me, like he accepts me. So then I'll be free. I'll be, right? So that we live in our assumptions and we react based on our assumptions, right? So it's important to be noticing those kind of assumptions that we live by, beside how I also think of you or anyone who's out there, and how do I come from prejudgments, and then as I come close to people, or even relationships, right? Like how do I think of my husband? How do I feel about him? What do I do, that works or doesn't? Like start looking at what behaviors, what thoughts, emotions, behaviors I have that are workable and creating the results I want, and what kind of thoughts, feelings, behaviors I'm doing, which are not creating, and they're creating, they're ruining the relationships and myself versus. And then there's also this part that I relate to myself, which I bring, right? So if I'm confident and I come and sit here, regardless of what Michael does, I will feel confident, right? But if I don't feel confident and it's like, oh my God, how's this podcast going to be? If Michael, regardless of reacting to me or not, you raise an eyebrow, I would say, oh my God, see, he's upset with me because I wasn't good enough. And I will
There's
run
a
this
reaction, yeah.
I will run this thing in my own head.
Yeah.
So you could look at the way that we perceive the information from the outside world, the way we take in the data, the way we perceive it and make up stuff for ourselves, the way we create meanings around it. And because of those things, we have certain feelings that come up. And then because of this, we constantly act or react and behave. And due to this matter, we create and co-create the world, our life, and every interaction. So, we're probably 5% aware, 95% not aware. That's what neuroscience says, that they're all kind of subconscious. So the more we become aware, the more we bring our subconscious to the consciousness, the more we have choices in the way that we want to be in life. So part of the like psychotherapy, and especially the way the AIT works, is to bring you awareness. And with that awareness, choices gets created. With that awareness, you'll see it's not because you're bad, but it's because you might not have certain skills. And then how do you gain the skills to be the person who you want? With that awareness, you can make certain that you could create clear goals for yourself and be intentional in living. So if I say I really intend to be loving, then there's going to be so many areas throughout the day that will require me not be, or but I can keep coming back. If I say I'm going to intend to be honest and transparent, there's so many reasons during the day that will tell me you don't need to be. You could lie right now and get out of
Yeah,
it.
that's true. That's true.
Right. So,
Yeah.
and then how can I come back to being intentional with life?
Awareness is such just a powerful thing, be it a concept or whatever. I don't know. But the older I get, the more aware I am, right? Just automatically. Well, not necessarily automatically, but I've done the work. I've done the work on myself. And you said that, the more aware you are, the more choices you have. And I believe that. It's almost as if my scope of life has opened up because I've become more aware. I become more aware of who I am in situations. I become more aware of how I respond to people. I become even more aware, the older I get, with scams, especially in business. And it's not an automatic response of damnation. It's just taking the information in and saying, okay, this is how I have to handle this situation. And I think it's a powerful thing. And so the awareness is just by itself is just a powerful thing.
Very.
How is the AIT apart from other therapeutic approaches? I'll let you answer that.
Sure. I think that the reason, a little bit of difference of it is that it does take in awareness. First of all, I created a structure. So you have like 6 phases, and the first phase, 3 phases are all about awareness. So what I should say is, let's create 2 cameras for you. Like the Ring cameras that we have around our home. And I said, put one camera looking inside, which will monitor your thoughts, your feelings, and your physical sensations. Because we feel feelings in our body, and our body will tell us. It'll give you information. Like when you're walking somewhere and you have no idea, but then your gut says, ugh.
Right.
Right. You meet some people and you're like, ugh, no.
I've been the other way.
Yes. So there is definitely, some senses in your system. And this is beyond, like, this was before being a human being and having a frontal cortex, right? Like, in order to survive, that we had to have the senses that by looking and by hearing, we had to assess if it's safe or not. So we do assume as part of our, we project and assume as part of our survival skills. But so that's one camera, right? You go in, you're constantly observing your own thought, your feeling, and your body sensation. The other camera you want to install watches your own behavior and the impact and the result that you create based on this behavior. So if this behavior comes out of your thought and emotions and your intentions that is inside, that's internal process. The external process creates this behavior, and then your behavior has an impact.
Mm-hmm.
So it doesn't matter if you keep saying, I'm going to hit you, I'm going to hit you, I really want to hit you, I really want to hit you. That's
Mm-hmm.
not going to create an impact unless I actually do.
Unless
What
you
does that
do,
mean?
yeah.
That's right. So in whether the behavior is telling you I'm going to hit you, I'm going to create some impact, or actually hit you, I'm going to create some impact. But as long as that thing is inside of me, the impact is very minimal. So you want these two concepts of what's inside and then how it transfers outside.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of the coaching or the psychotherapy, we do that both, the psychotherapy and coaching. When we do that, is you're really installing those where people can really become observant of themselves in all of these areas without the commentary. It's
Mm-hmm.
not about now you're going to damn yourself or you're going to do anything. It's just you take data in, and then you assess the data by, is it workable or isn't? Is
Mm-hmm.
this really what you wanted or it isn't, right? So if
Mm-hmm.
I'm a boxer and Michael, you're a boxer, if I'm going to say I'm going to hit you, that's actually between our agreement,
Right. Right. Yeah.
right? This is something that you and I have actually agreed upon. And then we're going to see how each one of us hits better. And I'm going to be expecting to get hit because
Yeah.
that's our agreement. But
Yeah.
if that's not the case, like that's not what we agreed upon, and we're not a boxer, then it's like, all right, I wanted to be on his show. He was so gracious to invite me on his show, and we're having this conversation. And then I come in and do this. Like, was this
Mm-hmm.
helpful? Was this
Mm-hmm.
really what I wanted to do? So it's the observation of, based on my goal, based on things that I want to create, based on, being intentional about life, is my thought, feeling, behavior aligned with what I want to create? And if it is awesome, let's look
Yeah.
at it and do it more. If it's not, then let me assess where it does this feeling or where does this belief or behavior stems from.
Mm-hmm.
And then, so in phase 4, then we take it and go to look at, the memories of what has happened for me, to me, that I made some of these decisions in my life. I made these belief systems about myself or the world. I made these coping mechanisms that are so now subconscious and they're like automatic that are coming up. And can I go back and look and revisit
Mm-hmm.
from a part of strength? Not only from part of, I'm a victim, or this happened to me and I need to survive this, versus, no, I was even strong then. I strategized, I survived, I was resilient, all of those. So coming back and recreating those rewriting those memories, because memories are not solid. Memories, all
Oh my
research
God, no.
shows. Right. So all the research shows that every time you go back to a memory, you're reframing it. So I can go back to a memory and say, poor me, I was abused, I was this and that. And it was true partially, but
Mm-hmm.
it wasn't all of it. Like you said, as I grow up, the lens gets bigger and I get it. And so when I go back to that memory, I'm no longer a 3-year-old. I can go back and look at it from who I am today and get the bigger picture of
Yeah.
what was going on in that scenario and how I survived it, how I resiliently pulled through, how even as a child I, endured or was patient or was quiet, holding until, or strategized in how to get out of it. I mean, those are all strengths, right?
Yeah.
That we
Yeah.
use. So going back and kind of clearing all of these other pieces that we left in the closets and never went back. So we kind of like clean up and sweep up. And we do this in every area of life, because sometimes, Michael, you have a skill somewhere, but it hasn't been transferred other places. I'm sure people who are with us have experienced this, that in professional settings, it doesn't matter even if you come across difficult people, they're, emotionally regulating themselves. They know exactly how to talk on a professional level,
Mm-hmm.
and disengage from that's happening. And then they go home, on a holiday to their parents' home.
Completely different.
They forget all of their skills, and they're acting like they were like 5 years old. So then it's important for us to see what areas of life we've actually gained skills that we can transfer to other areas of our life, and kind of like grow ourselves up everywhere and become a whole, versus all of this fragmented parts of us that are
Yeah.
hanging out everywhere. Kind of
Right.
become aware, heal, and become a whole. And then from that whole place, then set up, who do I intend to be? What is it I want to create in my life? And then, create your goals and action plans and systems and structures in order to be able to succeed at anything that you say you want to do.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, why is integrating emotions, thoughts, and behaviors so essential in healing? But you kind of answered it. And the thing I wanted to say, I'll try to make this make sense, was I was talking to my producer, and I was talking about, um, as I guess as I'm, continuing to succeed in the things that I'm doing, like before that, it was like I was trying to get somewhere, running to become something. And I'm still becoming something. But the thing that I failed to do was reconnect with that young part of me that actually gave me that strength to be who I am today. And there was such a disconnect from who I am today to that person. I mean, things happen, in the space of when I was younger to where I am now. But that young person gave me the drive. That young person gave me the dream. Young person gave me the goals that I wanted to create. Not even necessarily goals, but what I wanted to create for my future. And I disconnected with that. Just as of lately, though, I reconnected with that, and that emotional part of me connected with the thoughts of who I am today, that allowed me to just become a fuller version of who I am.
Absolutely.
And I was healing. I'm still healing, but I was healing. And when you were speaking and sharing that, it was like that would help so many people to not just run away from who they were, but reconnect those parts of them that, for the memories that they had, they think are, bad memories, but they're possibly memories that just really support them in becoming the greater person who they are now, and reconnect with that person.
Well, the bad news and the good news is you can't run away from that part.
No,
You know, the bad
no,
news.
you're running and running and running in a circle.
Yeah, so the bad news is you can't get away. The good news is you can't get away, and it does allow you to go back and bring them in. Bring them in from a whole different place. Because in that place, as I said, we were left with powerlessness.
Mm,
And it's true. Like, how much power does a 2-year-old or a 3-year-old or a 5-year-old have? I mean, we have power as much as our age and circumstances,
hmm
right? But then if we've survived it, if we've thrived and come to here, obviously, yes, exactly what you said. It's, the tenacity, the resilience of that part of us that didn't die and didn't go psychotic.
hmm
Because
Yeah,
right? Because if we
right.
if we're pressured too much, our ego strength just collapses.
Yeah.
So if my ego strength, even as a young child, was so strong enough that held through all of these things, good for him. Good
Right.
for her, right?
Right.
Good for me for having that essence of resilience that, with the utter level of powerlessness sometimes, with the utter
hmm
level of helplessness sometimes, with the utter level of not having skills, and
hmm
most of the time not even having the frontal cortex as a system to help me to move forward, I still endured.
Yeah.
So yes, when we go and kind of bring that person, that part of us out of the closet, and it's like, here, yes, you were strong enough then, and look who we have become.
hmm
And this is who we are, and we don't have to be separate again. We have to be one, because now we have access to all of it. We have access to vulnerabilities. There's still, I don't care how strong we are, I don't care how many skills we have, there are going to be circumstances that I'm going to feel powerless again.
hmm Yeah.
I'm going to be helpless.
Yeah.
And I just got to endure the way I endured before, or I'll learn new ways of enduring, because this is a new
hmm
circumstances. But as a whole, yes, it's much easier to move forward as a whole and have access to all of my strength also.
We're So I'm thinking about the the person that's listening, that don't necessarily have the skills, not necessarily the skills, but the understanding of how to do that, to reconnect, to begin to allow themselves to be not as fragmented, but more of a whole and powerful person? Where do they start?
One of the things, Foojan App, 31 areas of life, I'll take you through all of it and we'll give you exactly how to do it. But the ones who don't want to go, I'll tell you. Um, the best thing is to look at become aware, put in those cameras that I said to you.
Right.
And as you become aware, you'll see that there's some emotions that are coming up that are appropriate to the situation. Then you'll see some emotions that are coming up that just feels too intense for whatever's happening.
Mhm.
Okay. So if somebody comes and says something to me, I could be upset, feel disrespected, and, have an intensity of 2 or 3 based on who they are and whatever it is. And that might be appropriate. And then I can, share with them what I need and how I like to be spoken to or what it means and, clear that. But if somebody comes and says that to me, and that day, instead of intensity of 2, I have intensity of 10 in rage,
Mhm.
then that's a cue. How come I'm getting so offended? How come the intensity of my emotion is so high?
Mm.
What am I making this mean that this is so important for me? This isn't any longer about the input that it's coming, but the way that I'm making meaning out of it, the perceiving and all of that is making this huge. So then I want to take that and kind of go, all right, where's this coming from?
Mhm.
Where is it that I experienced this type of belief system or emotions that showed up for me? And that's the path to go into kind of like the past and look at where did it show up? How did it show up? When is it that I made those decisions? What circumstances were there where I had to cope this way? And it's still kind of unresolved and I don't experience all of my strength, and that's why this type of extreme emotions are coming up. So
Mhm.
our extreme emotions are the cue to
Mm.
unfinished business, because I mean, we're human and we're supposed to have emotions, but the emotions supposedly are matching the circumstances that are happening.
Right. I
So
see that.
if it feels a little bit higher or too much higher than regular, appropriate emotion for this intensity, then that's a clue. And how do we get it? We look at other people around us. How are they reacting to these pieces? Is mine a little bit more than them? Or if I share the scenario with my friends and family, the way they talk to me, it's like, not a big deal. How come you're having such a, emotional piece with it? Then it's a cue. Okay, maybe I am overreacting, and let me see where. It's not that I'm bad or there's something wrong with me that I'm overreacting. It just means there's some meaning or unfinished business that still needs to be healed and taken care of.
Yeah.
Which it seems like if other people don't have the same meaning or feeling, they're not getting activated as much.
Mhm.
Does that make sense?
It does make sense. It was, I was smiling because it could be something really simple. So my family, they're all Apple people, iPhone people, whatever, and me and my brother are Android guys. Say what you want to, people talk about us all the time, like, but um, somebody put me in a group chat for iPhone, and I mean, I got livid out because I don't like being in group chats and stuff like that. And I just responded, just went off. Calling the person, I'm like, it was a family member. I was like, take me on the, and it was such a visceral reaction that didn't make sense after like about 15, 20 minutes. And I was talking, my sister was around, and I was like, did I just overreact about that? She was like, yeah. And I don't know what that was. I still don't even know why. Oh, I did because it was like something was taken out of my control that I didn't want to be a part of, and I didn't have a say in it. And so what you were saying, that's what kind of stirred inside of me.
Exactly. So then it's taking that concept of, taking the concept of, okay, I have a reaction to when I'm not in control and I don't have a say so about something. And it seems possibly that when that happens, that, there might be harm or there might be disrespect or there might be something like it's harmful. So it's not like a joyous experience. It's like, if this happens, then there's going to be some harm happening. So then it's like taking that concept and seeing where was the first time or second time that something like this happened, where I was not, I didn't have a say so and I was powerless and all of that. And, something happened which was not part of my desire. And somehow
Yeah.
that got stuck in a sense from that place. Then therefore we made a decision, right? As a human being, as an animal, even animals make a decision. Uh-oh, harm there, don't do it again. Or,
Mhm.
harm there, make sure you don't do it. So, fight first. So these are
Mhm.
conditionings for our survival. But
Yeah.
sometimes when it becomes conditioned in that way, we're not even realizing that the conditioning is working much faster than us. The conditioning is doing much faster and going forward without us actually looking and having appropriate assessment of what is needed here.
Yeah.
So that's where the awareness shows up. And then if this keeps happening, I'll know, okay, that's something I really have to resolve.
Yeah. Yeah. I've since worked on that, and know how to respond differently if it hasn't shown up, um, where I felt powerless or not able to, control a situation that I didn't have a word in. But when it does show up, I think, especially after this conversation, it's a new awareness, another level of awareness, that will show up, and that kind of bridges with mental health. I was going to start talking about that, and then to your app, because I'm very interested in that. But you had mentioned 70% im- improvement, in mental health, and with I think is it with the app or was it with? Okay, what like contribute to that level of success for people?
That's a great question. When we've done this with psychotherapy and coaching, obviously the numbers are higher because there's someone there coaching you moving forward. We'll find the blind spots, and obviously when it comes to healing the past and moving forward, when you're doing this process with another person, a coach or a psychotherapist, it helps a lot, right? Uh,
Hmm.
I usually say it like this. We all have had some of these massage toys that we have that we use at home, that you
Hmm.
massage yourself
Oh
and
yeah, yeah, yeah.
right. So those are good. Those are really good. When you're tired, you come home and your muscles are, stiff and you want some release at that moment, and that works. It's a very different experience than going to a massage therapist, right? A masseuse, because
Hmm.
you lay there, you just allow yourself to be relaxed. You're not the one who's doing something, they're doing it and they know what to do. And then imagine another person has some injury, okay? So a massage therapist is not enough. They actually have to go to a specialist where, they go to a physical therapist, let's just say, or go to a chiropractor because they need something more than that.
Hmm.
So I usually look at mental illnesses and mental health from that angle, right? So something like Foojan App is the massage thing that you have at home. So it works for you up to a point
Yeah.
because you're doing is a guided journaling. It'll prompt you, it'll ask you questions, and then it'll guide you from one end to the other. It'll give you meditation. It'll give you guided meditation to go through and really look at things and move forward with it. So that's how the app works. How did it get? And then, if you go to a coach or a psychotherapist, obviously they're there and it'll give you higher concepts of higher results of efficacy. The question was that you asked, how come, we're getting this high numbers? I
Yeah.
think because when you're looking at depression, and I'm not talking about chemically induced depression, I'm talking just like psychological depression.
Hmm.
So psychological depression comes a lot from either traumas from the childhood or a childhood adverse experiences. If we were raised in an environment that was not necessarily healing us, nurturing to us, we pick up information that we turn it against ourselves. So when we think that way against ourselves or the world, if the world hasn't been safe for me or outside, then these kind of negative belief systems add to the depression, because I become powerless, hopeless, and the powerlessness and the hopeless, when I don't think I have control over the world, then it holds me as a depressive state. So
Yeah.
as we go through this process of awareness, and we go through the healing the past and completing, then obviously these all changes. And because you come back to your sense of power, you can see why the depression levels minimizes, because we're opening all of these things up. The reason that I think that anxiety calms down also is, what is anxiety? Anxiety is you create a horror film
Mm.
in the future of yourself based on some of the stuff that has happened to the past. So that's what anxiety looks like. And I'm
Yes.
talking like a toxic anxiety, because we all are supposed to have anxiety, because it's almost like a protective sense of watch out,
Hmm.
you know. So we're not talking on a protective level of anxiety. We're talking on a toxic level of anxiety, right? So that comes because a part of our system says, I had a bad past. Watch out so it doesn't happen again. What if this? What if that? What if that happens? Get ready. Do this.
Yeah.
Don't go there. That's what anxiety is. So again, you can imagine, as I become more aware of myself and I complete the past in a way, I look at it another way. So my superimposition of that negative past to the future lessens, it ends. Plus
Okay.
that, as I move forward in phases 5 and 6, I am creating goals. I am systematically creating what is it I'm in control of, what can I do, how I can move forward. So I'm creating and envisioning a future which is a little bit more set, so not only I don't superimpose the past and the future, but I'm also creating a future which calls me forward, which is exciting for me, which I can see what parts of it I have in control and not, where part I need to skills. That's why it also minimizes the anxiety. The
Hmm.
reason it raises self-esteem and self-efficacy and self-confidence is because in some of these phases I'm changing the way I thought about myself.
Hmm.
And I'm changing the way that I behave toward myself. And what is
Yeah.
self esteem is how I look at myself and see myself as valuable. What is self confidence is when I see that I'm capable. So if I change these things that I say to myself and kind of like constantly scold myself, when I change that, which is accepting who I am, loving who I am, being nurturing to who I am, and even if I'm making mistakes, how do I talk to myself and nurture myself and motivate myself to move forward? As you can see, it raises self-esteem and self-confidence. So that's why the numbers are like that. But obviously the numbers for self-help will be less than when you are with someone, as far as efficacy. And I think that's the analogy I said. Well, the impact you're going to get on kind of massaging
Hmm.
yourself is a little bit different than when you go to an expert massage therapist, which is, working with your body.
Well, I think it's, first of all, it's great that you have the ability to have that in the app that can support people in their daily life. Now, what kind of feedback are you getting from people that are actually on the app right now?
One of the feedback is the numbers they gave, because before they go into each one of these areas of life that they want to work on, we ask a couple of questions about how are they fulfilled with this area, and the same questions are done after they finish the process. And
Mm,
the same questions come up, and that's how we're getting the numbers. If they're saying I'm 71%, 75% in this area, 60% more satisfied than when I started, right? So that's how the feedback is coming.
okay.
Um, and based on that, sometimes, obviously we get emails, we get people who tell us, people who come and actually, I meet them when I'm doing conferences, that they come and they say, I used it and it was. The reason we created the chatbot Mira, AI chatbot Mira, was because at the beginning when we started working with the app and we were writing and all of that, it just felt like people were were doing this on their own. And sometimes they had questions, or sometimes they said, I don't have a skill. Okay, I got it. I'm aware. I don't have the skill. Now what? Right.
Right.
So, we created like videos of skill building videos, but they had to go, get out of the chat, go into like the website to get all of those. And he was like, well, if we could bring some of those skills to you as you're going along. So then we train the AI chatbot it answers you from the AIT model. So as you're going through guided journaling, you might just pop up Mira and say, now what do I do with my husband when he's being pissy to me? He'll give you
A real thing, people, a real thing.
real thing. So then you write down, I'm sorry that it's being, that you perceive that your husband is being pissy to you. Now let's look at a couple of things. So they give you a couple of reframing questions or reflecting questions. Have you noticed that? Have you noticed that? Have you looked at yourself? And they'll give you skills. Is there, please talk to him and say this, or do this. So I'll give you like 8 or 10 skills plus reflective questions. So you kind of ponder and move forward. It was interesting. My husband went to his barber. So as he's sitting there, the barber is talking to him about himself and, his ex-wife and his son, and saying that at the time that because they got divorced, the ex-wife and him were not really talking a lot. And his son, he just felt like he was losing his son throughout. And he was kind of blaming the ex-wife and, we don't get that. And so he said, I don't know what to do. And my husband pulls his phone up and says, you want to ask Mira? So they ask Mira, and Mira gives him 8 or 10 kind of solutions. And okay, go try these out. So fast forward a month, my husband goes back to the barber shop again. And so as he's sitting, he says, what's going on? And he said, I gotta tell you that since I've done everything, because they took pictures, right? Like before me, they took pictures of exactly what Mira was saying. He says, I went home and I started talking to him. I started talking to my ex-wife. And I could tell you within the past 12 years, we haven't had, a better communication that we've had this past couple of weeks, where where we actually sat down and went through everything that Mira said, do this, and I listened and I did that, and I get the result. It's as if like I've got my son back, and my relationship with my ex-wife came out of hostility. It's no longer hostile because we started looking at, we're both here, we're no longer married, it's not about the two of us anymore, and we recommitted in being good co-parent and allow my son to have me and me having my son, because it's better for my son to have his father. So we accepted, me and my exes accepted that. And then this opened a little bit of the conversation with my son. Well, he doesn't have to feel guilty to upset his mother. And now from there is working with me. And that's my dog trying to have it.
Mine's sitting right here.
At this moment. Yes. You want to come in to the show? You obviously have an opinion about this.
Right, she does, or he does. I think that's really powerful. Having something like that can, just bring families back together, or start healing what needs to be healed in those situations, and that's probably what makes us different or separate from other wellness apps that are out there, right?
Yes, I mean, a lot of people right now. There was actually, I think Gallup did and research or a survey, and they said most of the people are getting their psychological skills from TikTok at this point, and many people were going to ChatGPT. And ChatGPT answers well. I'm not, I work with ChatGPT consistently, and I use it for what it needs to be used. However, ChatGPT hallucinates. A lot of these open AIs, they're called open AI, open generative AI. They hallucinate because they get active from everywhere. There's no guards around it, so they're like, they'll do anything, and you can train it. And we've heard really horror stories also from where, like, somebody was trying to convince that I want to become a drug dealer, or I want to kill myself. And at one point it's like, yeah, go ahead, and these are the ways, or go ahead and kill yourself.
No.
Because it doesn't have, a guardrail around it. So it just goes, like, you could train it and go back and forth with it and convince it, because it'll just take from you to the next level, the next level. So, and then we also have like boxed rule-based AIs, and box rule AI based AIs are the one you say, if this, then this. If they ask this, only answer this, and this is how they work.
Hmm.
So what we brought, the Sam Changizi, who's the creator of the app and the AI, what he has done is brought both of these together. So now we have, it's a generative AI which learns from you and comes back, and some of the things you've journaled, takes your information from your journal and gives it back to you and learns from you and brings it. But we've also created rules around it, definitely for the benefit of the client and the user, so it keeps it
Yeah.
safe.
Yeah.
So, we test it sometimes. It's like we go in, like, I want to kill myself, whatever, so, and see what it says. And we box it. We box those rules, right? So it's like, okay, this is, and then sometimes now, if you ask it something that it's not supposed to answer, it will
Hmm.
say, I'm not trained in that. Could you please call your physician? I'm not trained in this. Could you do such and such?
That's smart.
So, yes, because, we wanted it to be safe. One of the things that I've always learned being a therapist, always to the benefit of the client. It has to be safe for the client. So we
Hmm.
wanted to make sure that it is open enough so that it can generate and it can become personalized to you. And
Yeah.
it's not just giving you, one size fits for all answers, but the answers are based on who you are, which you have trained it to be. But also it's closed enough and it's rule based enough that keeps you safe. So
Yeah.
I think this is an advantage. I haven't seen such a thing in the market at all. And
This
I'm
is the
really
first time.
thankful. Yeah, I'm really thankful to, Sam, for being able to create this, to bring these two together in a sense. And, the future is we're making it audio. Right now it's only written. So we're bringing it into audio so even people can just talk, and the part, just writes for them and journals. Then you could talk to Mira, and when you do that, also when we're bringing the new technology, then at this point is only English language. So hopefully we can bring it to different languages, because when it's audio and all of that, it'll exchange through those a lot. So those are the improvements that consistently we're working on the next phases and the next phases. But so far, I think still, because, from a marketing perspective, we're constantly looking at what's out there and, how we can
Yeah.
make it better. At this point in the market, we still don't have anything that looks like it. So it is mental health. It's, again, disclaimer for everyone. This is not for people with truly mental illnesses. I think you need more of a, um, one-on-one. You need professionals. You need to be heard and be with someone who can assess best. The app is really for people who are, um, they're not mental illnesses, but they're mentally healthy. They just need skills for life.
Yeah.
I think most everybody experiences anxiety and depression sometimes in their life, or they just don't, they don't even have anxiety and depression, but they have questions about life. They like to be
Right.
better, working better. So it's mental well-being, mental health and well-being is what the app and Mira is for. And then for people who need more a concentrated help, then to go to psychotherapists and coaches across the world, which we're training, so that they can actually get this theory and this model, but with someone who's an expert and really can, work with them specifically.
Yeah, I think that's important to say, especially if somebody's dealing with like some real mental illness. That's go to a person that's a doctor that can really support you and help you in that illness. If the world adopted AIT and the Foojan app today or tomorrow or whenever, how would that how do you think that would um, how do you feel that that would be different for all of us if we adopted that? AIT and the Foojan app.
I think the beauty of this, what my hope is that 8 billion people on the face of the earth have access to it, have
Mhm.
access, and they can use it in any format that works. I'm hoping that suffering becomes less, because I think
Yeah.
there's a lot of issues that are in the world, but the suffering internally is something that we can minimize by the way that we change our belief systems and thought process and behavior toward whatever is happening from the outside world. So I'm hoping to minimize that suffering. And I'm hoping that we could we could create a system, and I'm, working with people. We're bringing it into daycare. We're bringing it into, school systems. We're teaching it in universities where, the group, like highest level of suicide is at this point with the high school and the first 2 years of college and that
I love
age
that.
range. So, we're bringing it into universities and all of that. One of the interesting thing I just wanted to share with you, because this was really sweet to hear. There's a daycare in Tarzana. Dr. Manukian has about 7 years ago. She said she had experienced AIT on herself. She really loved it. She said, "I want to create a daycare." She went across the world, and to different places in child rearing, and she got her PhD in developmental, early childhood development. So she started with this daycare, and we adapted this model to a proactive model of how to even kind of train infants and, 2-year-old and 3-year-old and their parents in this model and move forward. So yesterday I was talking to her and we were talking about, how she wanted to extend this and write the manuals and do all of that so she could license these daycares with the concept of AIT. And
Hmm.
I was sharing with her about, well, this is how we want to talk to, the child. And as we're talking to the child, and she started laughing and she said, "I just want to share something with you. At the beginning, when I started with the daycare, I had to teach this to each child, how to think, what are the feelings, how do you behave, what do you do when you want something, if something is happening in your body and it's an emotion, how to recognize it, how to release it, how to say, okay, I want to do this with this child, I want to go play, but they're taking my toy, how do I do that?" She said, "I needed to do this with every single child who came into this the daycare." And she said, "I realized this past year, I haven't had to do that because the kids who are here already and
Hmm.
the staff and everybody, this has become part of the culture. So as a new child walks in, they just learn and walk into this culture of becoming responsible about their emotions, sharing it,
Wow.
being loving to each other, working through coordinating, negotiating with each other." She said she said, "I didn't even notice how effortless this thing has come because now the system has become a culture itself." So
Hmm.
when you say what my hope is that that becomes part of the culture, that from childhood we learn to become aware. We don't have to wait until we're 30 and then we're like,
Right.
"Oh, what happened? What did I do?" You're right.
Yeah.
Let me go clean up. But from childhood, we learn how to regulate our emotion. We gain these skills as we're growing up in our own community. We learn the skills to be responsible for who we are, to be accountable for what we do and what we say and all of it, and learn how to, intentionally live a beautiful life and be loving and courteous to each other. So that would be truly my dream if 8 billion people got access to it. And
Yeah. Well, through like things like this, people become more aware of the AIT concept, and then also the Foojan app. And I think that's like you spoke to like someone of that age in the daycare, um, them having what we call now emotional intelligence, that level of emotional intelligence and understanding at such an age that grows with them,
yes.
and that's great.
Yes.
That is
Yes,
great.
absolutely. Because again, it's the skills. And
Yeah.
if we weren't taught those skills as part of how we were growing up, we wouldn't have it.
Hmm.
If parents really learn the skills of really becoming aware of themselves, clean up what happened to them as they grow up while they're going, they're working with the next generation, a lot of the, multi-generational traumas would stop
Yeah.
because they would take care of themselves. They would heal themselves
Hmm.
before they go and, go into a union. Then the way they choose a union would be different. Then they would, when they have a child, the way they raise their child would be different because they took care of themselves.
Take care of themselves. Yeah. As we round, this is wonderful. We're going to round the conversation up here, but um, there's a couple things I want to know. One is if you had one message to leave to someone who was like, silently struggling with, being aware or just their emotional intelligence, what would that message be right now?
I just want to say there's nothing wrong with you. You just need to learn the skills and you can do it. You deserve it. And more than anything, I think you're responsible. You're fully responsible to take care of you and learn how to be happy because you deserve to be happy. And it's
Yeah.
a learned, everything is learned. The moment we're learning when we're in our mother's womb. We're learning these neural, our brain is getting completely set. So every angle is learning. It's this neuroplasticity is consistently working. It could be 90 years old. It's still working. It's
Hmm.
still, you could work with it and it creates more synapses. So we can choose how we need to grow.
Yeah. We can choose how we need to grow. As your last words on the podcast today, the conversation has been great, first of all. I even though I didn't say it, there was a moment where I kind of teared up a little bit because it was really resonating with me, what you were saying. But as your last words on the podcast today, which way should I go? Well, first of all, before you go to the last words, how does someone get in touch with you?
My own website, FoojanZeine.com, my name.com, awarenessintegration.com, if people want to know about awareness integration. Foojan.com is about the app. So you could go there and learn about the app, and you could go into Apple and Android.
And Android.
We love you, Apple and Android. You got both. So that both of those groups can have it, and you could get it from Apple Store. But if you want to learn about it more, you could definitely go to Foojan.com. So any of these um, three websites will lead you and get more information. All the social media, you could contact me through any of the social media that you like, and
Perfect.
all of them, Dr. Foojan Zeine, are there.
Right. We'll have that all in the description. And yes, this is an Android. Okay. And here's the app right here. Before I went further, but there's the monthly plan, quarterly plan, and a yearly plan here.
Yeah, and there's 3 days free. So go check out the 3 days free.
Oh,
Play
3
with
days free.
Yeah, play with it, and see if you like it, and then take it on.
Perfect. Perfect. So again, here we brought it back. So for your last words on the podcast, what's on your mind, your spirit that you would love to just share with people as we're closing up this conversation?
I think love is our essence. And what I say with love is an essence of just acceptance of what is and who we are and who humanity is, who every one of us are. But to look at each other from love.
I love that. um,
That's
wow.
that's the essence of our connection. I get loving. It's the essence of our connection together.
Mm.
And we can't live without each other. No human can live without each other. So I think we should just get it together.
Yeah.
And live together with love. I mean, that's who we are. Our essence is love. And Michael, for 30 years, 32 years, every time that I work with someone, when you took off this pain, love showed up.
Mm.
You didn't have to insert it. You just took off the pain. And love showed up. So we're love. That's
Yeah.
who we are. We are that essence of acceptance, and that's just energy of love.
Mm.
And it's like, take off this mud that keeps creating, and we keep creating. And the minute you take that off, this love shines. And again, we're a species.
Yeah.
Like any other species. Maybe not panda bears, which are alone, but species of human being
Mm.
we're herd. And we need to look at how to bring this herd together globally, and just be grateful of who we are. Look at what the species has done, the beauty of what we have created. It's a beautiful species,
It is. Yeah, we are.
right? And we just need to be grateful for who we are. And stop the separation
Mm.
with who we are, like stop the separation with who we are and stop separating from each other.
From each other. I love that. And once you take off the pain, love shows up. And I that's amazing. So, Dr. Foojan, thank you so much for not only being here, but really being present in the moment, sharing your heart, and sharing what could make a difference in people's lives, and in the world. So thank you for being here. And
Thank you for the opportunity.
absolutely, absolutely. And our question of the day or the week, is, what's one limiting belief or thought you're ready to rewire starting today? And make sure you get the app, get your 3 days free, and then keep it. And as we always say, let's make thriving our new normal. See you next week. Before you go, I just want to say thank you. Thank you for being a part of the ThriveWell Journey. Every time you show up here, you're choosing growth, clarity, and the deeper work of becoming who you're meant to be in this world. And if you're ready to reconnect with what truly lights you up, I created something powerful that can help you. It's called the Empowered Path, 7 days to reclaim your purpose and passion. It's a beautifully designed, guided workbook that walks you through a week of powerful prompts, clarity building tools, and real mindset shifts. Now, you can get instant access to it today. It's a small investment for a huge return. Your energy, your clarity, your alignment. And if you want to take it deeper, check this out. I'm offering a limited number of free 30-minute purpose coaching sessions. No pressure, no pitch, just space for you to reconnect with your direction, your gifts, and what's next. So you can grab the guide and book your session at the link in the show notes. Let's not just go through the motions, let's really walk this path on purpose. I appreciate you. And like we always say, let's make thriving our new normal. And I'll talk to you soon.